Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching STV 6 p.m. newscast on here in the city of Douala. We're broadcasting live. The headlines. The Minister of Public Works has charged the two companies rehabilitating the east entrance into Douala to speed up works ahead of the African Nation Championship. Emmanuel Nganu made the call as he evaluated works on the stretch which had been abandoned following the suspension of the contractor. And now 3 suspected armed bandits operating in Douala 5 municipality have been apprehended by the Mobile Intervention Group. These 28 and 27-year-old boys were accused of attempting to loot money from schools in the locality. In sport, the challenges for new intermediate Lions head coach is enormous, as Martin Biller will have less than 3 months to put in place a team capable of representing the country with pride at the African Nation Championship come January. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us once more on another edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Spectrum Television. I am Kone. The Minister of Public Works has charged the two companies rehabilitating the east entrance into Douala to speed up works ahead of the African Nations Championship. Emmanuel Nganu made the call as he evaluated works on the stretch which had been abandoned following the suspension of the contract. Details with Peter Suse.
15 December 2020 is the deadline for the execution of emergency works on the east entrance into Douala. Public Works Minister Emmanuel Nganu was clear when he dished out instructions to officials of the two contracting companies, Razel and Majil, in Douala Thursday. His working visit to the economic capital was a big occasion to evaluate the rehabilitation of the east entrance. The project was halted earlier this year, creating traffic jam and urban disorder in Yassa and village neighborhoods.
Regardez les routes. Regardez-vous, ça ne se passe pas bien ici. Bon, actuellement, si je ne pense pas qu'ils seront plus rapides que précédemment.
After inspecting the access road to the Japoma Stadium and other roads, the minister has made it clear that the project must be realized on time for the African Nations Championships and the 2022 African Cup of Nations. To mitigate traffic along the Dibaba Bridge, the state engineer has announced a new and large bridge.
Le pont sur la Dibamba. Donc le pont sur la Dibamba va être reconstruit pour éviter cette sorte d'effet entonnoir.
The realization of the east entrance into Douala constitutes a 54-kilometer extension of the road, resulting in a dual carriageway of 3 lanes each. Upon completion, the road will not only improve urbanization in the city, but will further facilitate the transportation of goods across the Semak sub-region.
And on to this, in a bid to fight recurrent accidents in Cameroon, directors of the technical visit centers have been in a seminar in Yaoundé. The objective of this work, organized by the Ministry of Transport, is to strengthen their capacity so that they can align with the new reforms implemented by the government to reduce accidents in Cameroon. Let's now have an interview of the director of transport, that is in Yaoundé.
We are very informed that the Minister of Transport have decided to operate a huge reform in this sector that secures the entire process of obtaining the roadworthiness certificate in Cameroon, reducing 110% the possibility of human intervention to modify, fraud the results. Or this new system have also enabled all vehicles to go to the roadworthiness center, and a proper diagnosis is done to make sure that vehicles playing on the highways are safe for the users. So this training today, after 6 months of implementation of this new reform, which has had a sound success and producing very efficient results, because 6 months of evaluation have indicated that we have about 80% of increased number of interurban vehicles, trucks that have been going to the roadworthiness center. After a control for 24 hours that was done by the National Police Force, we have realized a 181% increase of number of taxis that have gone to the roadworthiness centers. Owing to the fact that this new architecture I'm put in place that's going to enable all vehicles go to roadworthiness center, it's important that the Ministry of Transport continuously reinforce the capacity, the operational capacity of the controllers or the human resources at this roadworthiness center. So this seminar today is to reinforce, give new dynamics to the controllers and directors of and technical directors of roadworthiness center to make them hyper performant, to be able to enable the Ministry of Transport attain the objective of properly screening vehicles when they come, proper diagnosis, proper control, so that we can achieve the objective of reducing the number of accidents on our highways that are caused by the poor state of vehicles.
And now on to something else. 3 suspected armed bandits operating in the Douala 5 municipality have been apprehended by the Mobile Intervention Group. These 28 and 27-year-old boys are accused of attempting to loot money from schools in the locality. They are also accused of threatening schools administration into giving them money, or students will be kidnapped from school premises. Failure of administrators to adhere to their demands provokes them into vandalizing school properties. British International School and Russian Galazi International School are their victims. Their arrest is thanks to the intervention of the Mobile Intervention Group under Commander Josh. Let's now have an interview of the principals of the school involved.
Mr. George Agbo, the principal of British Eyes International College. On Monday, Monday 19th of October, around 11 a.m. in the morning, we received a call, a threat call from an unknown individual through the management, and I was immediately informed about it. And this individual informed us they will come in our school for an eventual disorder. So we look at it as a minor threat, but immediately we try to put down our complaint to forward it to the gendarmerie officer in Bonamusadi. So we ended that day. So on Tuesday, very early in the morning when I came to work, it was reported that these individuals actually came into our school and burned down the 2 buses of our school. So immediately we had to run for security of the students, the kids, the personnel of the institution. So I laid a formal complaint, and thanks to the security of the country, on this blessed Thursday, we presented the culprits. And the culprit who committed the terrorist act, and the culprit were accompanied by commissioners of police, commandants of gendarmerie, and journalists. So that is what actually happened. I think at this moment we are very, very satisfied with the security, with the police force, who have done a great job. I want to say bravo to the security of Cameroon.
On the 14th, we received a phone call from people who threatened that they were paid to destabilize the school. And on the same night, on the night of the 14th to the 15th, I received a call from our founder saying that our bus was on fire. Fortunately, some passers-by were able to intervene and turn off the fire on the bus. And the following day, we received a call again from the same people who threatened that they were going to destabilize the school, and that we needed to give them 6 million if we wanted the school not to be burnt down. They said they were paid to destabilize a number of schools in the area. So on the same day, we called the police, and they told us to keep calm, and they told us how to proceed. And we received a phone call yesterday that the people were under custody. But that notwithstanding, from the Thursday, we didn't get any calls from them again until yesterday, when the same people called us with still other threats, and by the evening we're told that the people were in custody, and here we are today.
And now some visually impaired persons in Douala have today benefited from some items to assist them carry on with the school year. The items include tablets, walking aid, just to name a few. Living in a business-inclined city like Douala poses huge tribulations for their kind, especially with social interaction and crossing main road. Ngwe Irene has been one of the beneficiaries, and she tells us how to identify a blind man's need if we come across them. Let's listen to her as she explains the signs they make use of if they find themselves in danger or any other need arises.
I came with my right hand, my left hand will be open like this. This signs means that stop, I want to cross the road. When you saw a blind man, a disability people with this sign, means that you want to cross the road. And when I put down my white cane with my right hand down, and my left foot is behind, means that I'm already ready to cross the road. And when I finish to cross the road, I will put down my left hand down that the vehicle should continue their way. And I will make a circle around me like this. Let there be no obstacle. Let there be no gutter that she fell down there. Or let there be no mother that she's selling her pop-up. Let me not throw it down. The second sign that I will present to you is the sign I'm waiting for a taxi. I will put my two legs in V, my two hands on top of my white cane, which means that I need a taxi. When you saw a blind man with this sign, means that she needs a taxi. The third sign that I will present to you is the sign I'm in danger. I leave my house and I know that I've already made my sign to cross the road. No vehicle have dropped. I will not shake down, because if I shake down, the vehicle will ground me. I will just put my left hand with my white cane up. My right hand will be the long of my body, which means that I am in danger. The last sign that I want to present to you is the sign I need for help. I cannot make like this. I can even speak to a tree. I will just put my white cane the long of my body, be like a military man. This sign means that I need for a help. Thank you. From Lions Club Abbey, we have the tablet for the blind people, poinson that we use, with the machine that they give today for this gift that the blind people, the children of the blind, that they are going to school, that they should use it, that we should not have no difficulty in school. Though we are so happy for this gift that they have given to us, that we should use it very nice. We are so happy for them. I will say thank you for them.
Today, across the world marks the 23rd edition of International World Stammering Day, which aims at creating awareness about stammering and correcting the impression people have about stammerers. Crystal Asa gives us details in the celebration of today's edition of the International Day of Stammering.
Stammering is a speech disorder or speech derangement communication challenge which is related to voice, speech, and language. Dr. Jacob Sob, an orthophonist in Douala, says with a lot of practice and speech therapies, this challenge can be corrected.
Puisqu'aujourd'hui le bégaiement n'est plus considéré comme une maladie ni une pathologie, mais c'est considéré beaucoup plus comme un trouble.
Stammering is not a pathology or an illness. It's a disorder which can be treated through therapy. People facing these challenges should seek counsel from orthophonists who can help them after a thorough evaluation of what kind of stammering disorder they have to commence treatment.
Le bégaiement léger, le bégaiement moyen, le bégaiement profond, le vraiment sévère en fonction de chaque degré. Après l'évaluation, on va voir ce qu'il y a lieu de faire.
Faced by millions of people around the world, Dr. Sob explains further that stuttering is not a permanent condition and can be treated.
Bègue accepte son handicap.
Once a stammerer accepts his or her condition, then his condition will no longer be looked upon like a taboo or fatality, since stuttering does not affect the brain or intelligence. A stammerer has all his or her faculties of intelligence intact. Today, October 22, 2020, the world celebrates the 23rd International Stammering Awareness Day, placed under the theme, Journey of Words, Resilience and Bouncing Back. It is therefore imperative to raise awareness on this disorder such that many stammerers will seek solutions through therapy and correct the impression that people have about stammerers and how we relate with them without making them lose their self-confidence.
And now the International Monetary Fund has disbursed 156 million US dollars, that is about 88 billion francs CFA, to Cameroon to enable the country tackle the shock on the economic inflicted by the coronavirus pandemic. It is part of the second phase of the Rapid Credit Facility. Peter Sose with details.
The 156 million US dollar loan from the International Monetary Fund is the second disbursement under the Rapid Credit Facility to help Cameroon deal with the urgent balance of payment needs stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic. Weaker external demands and the deepening of the economic impact of COVID-19 have further worsened growth prospects as well as external and fiscal positions. As a result, urgent balance of payment needs arising from the pandemic have increased, with the funding gap now estimated at 917 million francs CFA. The Deputy Managing Director of the IMF, Mitsuhiro Furusawa, further regrets that the pandemic has posed significant challenges for Cameroon. However, authorities have reiterated their firm commitment to an effective and transparent use of the public funds to mitigate the shocks. The IMF emergency financing under the Rapid Credit Facility will help government's effort to mitigate the impact of the twin shocks. Additional assistance from development partners will be critical to fill remaining financing needs. The Cameroon government has been urged to reinvigorate reforms and policy adjustments in line with the country's medium-term reform agenda.
Captain Asomo Obama Rena Roger is the new and first boarding commander of merchant sailors installed in the city of Douala. He will be in charge of maritime security, and supervise the smooth transmission of goods from sea to land. Josephine Binzi, attending that installation ceremony, has the following to give us.
At the helm of insecurity at seas, merchant goods, and add as a bonus for maritime authorities, Captain Asumo Obama Rena Roger has been installed today as a boarding commander of merchant sailors today in Douala, and fulfilling his duties, he says, is his ultimate task.
Je suis très ému pour toute cette masse de personnes qui sont venues vraiment honorer à cette installation.
I'm very pleased with this number of persons who rallied here today to support me. And it is a very historic moment in our association. It is a very good start, and we are enormously encouraged. We are in charge of security and the application of the ESPC code. We are also into navigation, security of goods at sea, as well as people at the Gulf of Guinea. The safe transportation of goods from sea to land is not void the assistance of maritime authorities. Thus, the transport sector endorses their support for its installation. We are the road transport sector, and they are in charge of securing our goods from the sea to its destination, from entry to its exit. We are working in synergy. Members of the ecclesiastical order and other religious authorities have also acknowledged the burden of the economy on sailors.
The
entire economy is sustained by the sea because almost all goods come via water. So our mission is to rally and support maritime officers. I'm pleased that there are institutions rally to support marine officers. He is the first regional boarding commander to assume this function in the littoral region, as the Port Authority of Douala is strategic for his workload. Captain Asumu was installed today, October 22, at Salle des Fêtes Aqua, Douala.
The regional delegates at the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training for the Littoral Region today held a workshop to launch the Back to School 2020-2021 training in Douala. Details with Crystal Asek-Swele.
The regional delegate at the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training for Littoral, today October 22, 2020, chaired the launching of the back-to-school sector of the training year 2020-2021 at the Excellence Professional Training Center at Bassa Douala. Placed under the theme Professional Training at the top of a renovated regulatory framework and resilience to the health crisis, this workshop had as objective to train the participants on the necessary tools to ameliorate the vocational training sector amidst the COVID-19 context.
It's geared towards ameliorating vocational training hand in hand with the fighting of COVID-19. We know it's a pandemic that has come to, we don't know when it is going to be eradicated, and so we have to continue with our activities with this pandemic. So we are here today to work with the partners of vocational training to sensitize them on how they can go about with their normal activities while respecting the barrier measures and helping the students to continue to acquire the competencies they are looking for.
During this training workshop, the presentations and debate carried out all geared towards clarifying the terminologies of the different concepts and visions to enhance the different dispositions of vocational. The regional delegate for Littoral in this line intends putting a special focus on the various measures prescribed by the government as part of the response against the COVID-19 pandemic.
We now take you to the southwest region of the country, where in a bid in order to fight against illiteracy by providing a better learning environment to the Kumbatu Subdivisional Council has handed over two newly constructed classrooms to government school Ekimba in Kumbatu municipality. The donation was done on Wednesday, October 21 at the school campus in Fiango, handing over the keys of these classrooms to the Inspector of Basic Education for Kumbatu Subdivision, Ivo Matuke Ibako. The second deputy mayor of the Kumbatu Subdivision Council, Vivian Chibili, expressed satisfaction on the effective start of the new school year in the municipality and stated that the classroom would go a long way in encouraging the learning process within the school milieu. Let's now have details of the donation with her. That's the second deputy mayor of the Kumbatu Subdivision.
I will tell you that the government of this country has a very special interest for Kumbatu. This is a municipality that has really suffered. The educational sector in this municipality has been under attack for a while, and the government thought it wise to bounce back. You know, in our comeback effort for the reopening of schools, the government thought it wise, you know, to add physically to this initiative. What you're seeing is a big project. It started since 2018 across to 2019, and today we are here to hand over this property to the school administrators. And I think that, as I said before, the government of Cameroon has a special liking for children in the Kumbatu subdivision.
We now take you to news out of the country. The world is watching as the U.S. prepares for a crucial election for president and thousands of other representatives at all levels of government in Africa's most mature democracy, that is in South Africa. Citizens are watching the drama with interest with the aid of a few seasoned journalists who are attempting to explain the quirks and development in the historic poll. VOA with more.
Still good morning for us in New York.
For 12 years, South African reporter Sherwin Bryce Peace has had the interesting job of explaining America and U.S. politics for his nation-state broadcaster from his base in New York. 2020, however, is posing a new storytelling challenge, with a pandemic and an election that even for many American journalists is a tough task. But Bryce Peace says the difficulty is universal.
The truth deficit that we've encountered with this White House, whether it's from the president's medical team post his COVID-19 diagnosis or just on any other day, you're not getting the facts necessarily from this White House. So we also always have to sort of put it through a prism. What has the president said, and is it actually true? And this complicates the life of a journalist here.
About sending their kids to school. His election coverage focuses broadly on the presidential race and on U.S.-Africa relations. He believes his audience prefers Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden in this race, largely because of Biden's connection to former President Barack Obama and for Biden's vice presidential pick, Kamala Harris. Also, he said President Donald Trump's disparaging comments about Africa have made him unpopular on the continent. In Johannesburg, retired U.S. diplomat turned writer Brooks Spector also tries to make sense of American politics for a South African audience in the Daily Maverick newspaper. This poll, he says, has taken him to some strange places in his column.
About a month ago, I wrote a column which urged for international monitoring groups to check the American election to help keep it honest, straight, and free and fair.
His is not an isolated opinion. The African Union has even suggested an election observation mission to the U.S., a plan that does not appear to have materialized, though smaller teams from individual African states are reportedly planning their own observation missions. In that way, says analyst Liesl Loh-Vaudrin, this poll could also influence how African nations behave in the future.
There's a paradigm shift, more than even a mind shift, in a sense that African countries and governments always feel, on the back foot when it comes to everything, governance, even the responses to COVID-19. And what we've seen this last 6 months is that actually even the developed nations have been struggling. Their systems of governance are also under threat.
Bryce Peace says this is an important time to be covering the U.S.
I mean, this is a strange moment for the United States, and I think we need to recognize that. I mean, the fact that you are questioning the electoral process of this shining city on a hill really does give a lot of people pause. And I think also the militarization of American society, the fact that there's such prevalence of weaponry and guns and ammunition in this country, we've seen a spike in that in various states since the rhetoric around the fraudulent nature of this election. I don't know how America comes out of this. The question is, what kind of leadership will you have post November 3rd? I think that will be determinative of where we go here.
Wherever that is, Africa will be watching, and so will Bryce Peace. Anita Powell, VOA News, Johannesburg.
In sport, Yves Clement Aroga, before his exclusion from the intermediate team, had an almost perfect record with just one defeat recorded in a dozen games played with the squad. John Paul Sama looks at his time with the team in the following report.
Appointed a year ago, Yves Clement Aroga Sensio was an almost unknown quantity to the Cameroonian public, but has been renowned in Spain with his active participation in youth football. For most, his exclusion from the intermediate Lions team comes as a shock, looking at the results he has recorded with this team thus far. Aroga and his squad have played 12 games, losing just 1 to Panther of Dende, 6 wins and 5 draws during his tenure. He lined up unbeaten streaks against foreign teams like Chad, Rwanda, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Congo, as well as South Sudan, while at the local scene of all the teams he has played against, including the likes of Dragon Football Club of Yaoundé, Bambutus Football Club of Buda, Avion FC of Kam and Leopard Sportif of Douala, all ended in a draw and victories. His last 2 performances against Panther of Dende and the South Sudanese team, coupled with the fact that some 8 key players were sent home in the last campaign and not included in the last list he signed, is said to have motivated the change at the helm of this team as he has been withdrawn and put at the disposition of the Cameroon Football Federation. Appointed a year
end of the 6 p.m. newscast on Spectrum Television, wishing you a blessed stay in company of our programs. Till we meet again, good night.
Martin Tungu Pili is coming into a role